Hey everyone, it is Berlin. My shady ass is back with another video because we've got more drama today. There is a little bit more. Firstly, I want to talk to you guys about Blaire White. Blaire White is somebody who I don't always agree with her views. I'm sorry if you guys really like her or something, but to me, she's somebody who is very opinionated, has these very strong opinions, and they're honestly not always opinions that I'm on board with, like her opinions about politics and also her opinions on inclusivity within the trans community. For me, her opinions on that are really not it. Like yesterday, she put up a post on her IG stories that I found kind of annoying more than anything. I'll pop the post in here so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so here was the screenshot of the TikTok that Blaire put up. Somebody here describing their sexuality and gender identity, saying how they face discrimination because of it. And Blaire has put this caption underneath that says, translated, I have no personality. So in this post, you can see there is somebody explaining their gender identity, their sexuality, and how they still face misogyny and stuff because of that. Blaire has then put a caption underneath saying, translated, I have no personality. For Blaire to do that, that is gatekeeping the queer community. Really it is. You know, how in the fuck does it affect Blaire White how anybody wants to label their gender identity or their sexuality? What has it even got to do with her? Like, okay, Blaire White is trans, we all know that, but you can still be trans and be bigoted. You can still be trans and discriminate against other queer people, and that is exactly what Blaire White is doing. Blaire also followed it up by adding another screenshot that was talking about trans men going to the toilet and asking, you know, oh, hey, why don't all men sit down on the toilet to be more inclusive of trans men? Again, she put a caption underneath that which said, oh, you know, it shouldn't bother you how anybody else goes to the toilet, which, yeah, okay, I can see that point. But again, at the same time, what does it have to do with Blaire White if other people choose to be more inclusive, to make trans men feel more accepted? What does it have to do with Blaire? Why is Blaire angry about other people showing acceptance to trans men? It's so stupid. It is ridiculous. And it is something that you see in the trans community and in the queer community. You do see people gatekeeping, saying things like, oh, well, non-binary people aren't trans, you're not trans enough, whatever that is. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. At the end of the day, who is Blaire White to tell anybody that their gender identity, sexuality, or however they want to be inclusive to people? Who is Blaire to say to people that's wrong or that doesn't matter? That is just my point, my opinion on Blaire's opinions. You know, her opinions on this just don't sit right with me. More so the first one, the first screenshot that she put up. I was like, nah, this ain't it. This really ain't it. Who is Blaire to police somebody's gender identity, sexuality like that? Really, like, that is gross. That's disgusting. Just let people identify however they want to identify. What difference does it make to Blaire? Okay, so I'm just going to grab my Nikki Tutorials Beauty Bay palette. I really want to use this pink right here, this Blend and Snap, just in there. But Blaire White, for her to say what she said, I found it to be gatekeeping and also just not very accepting or very tolerant. So that's my opinion on Blaire White. I'm sorry if some of you like her, but I just find it very annoying and honestly kind of wrong of her to try and police the queer community like that. I think people deal with enough discrimination. Queer people, I'm talking about. Queer people experience more than enough discrimination without it coming from our own community. So when trans people try and gatekeep non-binary people or other trans people, it's doubly frustrating. You know, I feel like they would be the first ones. Blaire would be the first one to cry and scream and say she's not being accepted if somebody used the wrong pronoun for her. So when somebody else expresses themselves, says what their pronouns are, goes into their gender identity, their sexuality, for her to then mock that person, it's a fucking double standard. Some of you guys who watch my channel, you probably know, you've probably heard me say, yes, I'm non-binary, I'm pansexual. To me, that's part of my identity, right? I know some people don't believe in labels at all, which is fine. You know, it's up to you. It's whatever your preference is, your personal preference. But for me, I use my labels because it might help somebody else who's scared or afraid or being bullied. It might help a kid out there who's being bullied for what they are, and it might help them to know that it's okay. They don't have to be afraid. They don't have to be bullied for what they are. They are normal. Everything's fine. People will accept them, you know? So when I see discrimination coming from people like Blaire White, who is also a part of the trans community, it pisses me off, you know? We all, as queer people, get more than enough shit and face more than enough discrimination from straight people. We don't need it from the queer community as well, the trans community, you know. Me, myself, as I said, I'm non-binary, I'm pan. So when I see this stuff happening, it really frustrates me. And I think when this stuff happens, we need to educate people on why it's crap and how to be better. So, for those who don't know, if you're not aware, non-binary as a term does fall under the transgender umbrella. So you've got transgender here, non-binary and gender fluid can also fall under that umbrella. That doesn't mean that all non-binary people identify as transgender though. And it doesn't mean that transgender people are non-binary. So it really just depends on each individual, how they identify, what their chosen pronouns are, you know, all of those things. You have to ask the individual. I'm going to dive into the Nikita Dragon Morphe palette now. If Blaire White were here having this conversation with me, Blaire White would probably say, oh, this person's being a snowflake, making a big deal out of it, all that stuff. I'm fine. That's Blaire White's opinion. But not everybody is going to agree with Blaire White's opinion. I know many people who would tell Blaire White, girl, shut the hell up. As for pronouns, I use they, them. That's just my personal preference. Honestly, I feel like that's what fits me best. Because I don't feel male and I don't feel female. So for me, I feel like I fall in the middle, in between. So I feel like that is what fits me best. And that's what I continue to use, you know. But as I said, non-binary also falls under the trans umbrella. It really does just depend on a person's individual journey. I feel like for a lot of non-binary people, some of us probably really do struggle with gender dysphoria as well, because we are born in one gender when we don't really feel like either, you know. So it's like, it's a bit of a headfuck sometimes. I have absolutely considered top surgery for myself For me right now, the only issue with that is I do live with my family and they wouldn't understand it. So for me, it's not an option right now to go and get top surgery or anything like that to alter my body in that way. I can't do that where I am now, where I live now. You know, I'm not saying I won't ever do it in the future. I'm just saying I can't do it right now, the position that I'm in right now, but it's something that's on my mind. So with that said, I'm going to say, be who you are. Love yourself however you identify. And don't let people tell you that your identity or your sexuality is invalid, because it isn't. So I'm going to love you guys and leave you here on this one. But I'll see you very, very soon on the next one. Take care. Stay safe. Stay well. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Love you guys. Bye.